Good morning. We're learning the laws of evil speech, laws of Rechilus. We're on Klal Vav, Seif Hey, 6, 5, and the laws of Rechilus. So we're going to learn a halacha today that some of it is not relevant anymore. It was only relevant in the times of the Talmud, but some of it is relevant to today. So let's get started. Iser Kabbalas Rechilus, hu afilu meish demehemele kishnayim. There were certain people that were so trustworthy that they are believed like two people, like two witnesses, because they never ever lie. So let's say you hear Rechilus from such a person. So to believe it, if someone like this tells you Rechilus, even if there is absolutely no way that what he told you is positive, he told you what someone did something to you that was very negative, or he said something to you that was very negative, nevertheless it's forbidden to believe it. He says, though, that if the information he tells you is relevant to something in the future, he gave you information about somebody so you can protect yourself perhaps from getting hurt or damaged or from a certain business deal, that you're allowed to believe this person. This is the first case we had where you're allowed to actually believe the Rechilus that this person tells you because he is trustworthy like two people. Now we're going to learn soon that practically this halacha doesn't come up because nobody nowadays has the status of being believed like two people. There was no one that we consider that trustworthy. This was a halacha that existed in the times of the Talmud, but we're going to see that there are certain applications of this halacha. Now, nevertheless, you can believe him, this person, but you shouldn't tell anybody else. Not even your family. The only way you could tell other people is if by telling them you can protect it has a purpose to protect yourself for the future. And this halacha that you're allowed to believe somebody who is believed like two people, that trustworthy, that's only if this person heard or saw the information himself, but not if he heard it from another person. Then he's like anybody else. But again, like you mentioned, such a person doesn't exist nowadays. Halacha Vav. Va'afilu ba'ofen hamoil, hanimili dekim lebegavai de'ishahu tuva, dahainu shemaker hetiv im teva ishahu she'enu meshaker. What type of person are we talking about? We're talking about when you hear it from a person who's believed like two people, meaning he never ever lies. B'shum oifen, never. Ve'enu megazim, he never exaggerates. B'davar v'daito somechas alav kolkach, and you trust him so much ad shema'aminim lo dvarav bazeh, that you believe him. V'gam ken b'shar dvarim tamei kishnei edim ha'me'idim bebezdin she'en achrem shum safek. And everything that this person always ever says, you believe him as if he would be as if it would be like two witnesses testifying in rabbinical court, because the ultimate proof in rabbinical court is two witnesses. So this person, that's how much you trust him. Aval im b'shar dvarim edim ha'aminu kolkach. But if with other things you don't believe him that much, v'rak bazeh mishum demaskuloi. Ragve lashon hara Rechilus gamer b'nashim adavar shehu amino kibei trei bevadei aser the adraba kol sheyeser yaman v'yachle adavar shehu emes yeser yikanis b'chol mekabel lashon hara Rechilus. However, if it's only for this thing that he's telling you now that you believe him like two people, that doesn't count, right? It has to be, because if you don't believe him by everything that he says like two people, and you just believe him the Rechilus that he's telling you, that's because you want to believe this evil information about somebody, and that for sure is a violation of the prohibition of Rechilus and lashon hara. And the more that you listen and you believe what he says, the more of a prohibition it is. It has to be a person that every single thing that ever comes out of his mouth, he never ever lies and he never exaggerates. So that's why in halacha zayin we see v'kol zehu b'zman Talmud. This halacha was only in the times of the Talmud. Aval hayom lefi ma shehiskimu haposkim she'ein lo la'adam leimer sheploni mehem lekebei trei de lo meshaker. He says, but nowadays the rabbis have concluded that we don't have this halacha that where a person, there's definitely honest people in the world, but there isn't a halacha where we give him the believability like two witnesses in court. So this doesn't happen anymore. Al-kain asur lo lekabel dvarav b'shum oifen, rak lachosh bilvad. So, ubalav hachi in matzah shishim akol tanam is karim b'sif hey vav. He says, so what do you do if a very trustworthy person tells you some information that's relevant for your future? All right? So that's great. The poskim say that there is nobody that has the status of being believed as two witnesses. But what if you have a very trustworthy person and he tells you Rechilus about something that you want to protect yourself from the future? So the Chavetz Chaim says you're not allowed, just like we had this concept earlier, you're not allowed to believe it in your heart, the information that he's telling you. However, you're allowed to be chayshish, you're allowed to take the necessary precautions and to act accordingly to protect yourself. And he's the Chavetz Chaim now says something related to this halacha, which is very relevant to today. Umizet tira, from this we see, kama anashim toim be'inyan zeh. We see many people who make an error in this. Shehem nizharim me'isr sipur lashon hara Rechilus. Certain people are very careful to not listen v'kabbalasim, to not speak lashon hara and Rechilus, and to not accept it. Imhem shoym zeh mecher, if they hear from random people. V'lo imhem shoymim zeh ma'aviyam ve'imam unshem b'cheshbon she'el b'vada lo yishaku lahem v'zeh tos gamor. These people, they never listen and believe lashon hara when it comes from other people, but if their parents tell them lashon hara, or if their spouse tells them lashon hara Rechilus, then they believe it. And he says that's a mistake. He ain't chilik b'zeh v'ayin la'el b'chilkav v'chal ches sif yadal v'kam v'chal zayin sifei. So this is a mistake. People assume that their family members would never lie to them about lashon hara and Rechilus, and therefore they're allowed to believe what they tell them. So it could be true that family members wouldn't lie to somebody, but nevertheless, there's still a prohibition to believe lashon hara and Rechilus that was said to a person, even from close family, like a person's parents or his spouse. But you're only allowed to be chayshish, to take the necessary precautions to protect oneself. And with that, we conclude the laws of Rechilus for today, and hope everyone has a beautiful day.